Hello, hello, hello. This is Debrena Jackson Gandy coming to you live on Facebook. And my, oh my, it has been a long time since I have done a Facebook Live. It has been months. So I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you could join me here in the Relationships Cafe. And I hope you would agree, or I think you would agree, that this season that we're in is very, very interesting. In the classic novel, A Tale of Two Cities, it starts off and it says, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I agree. And for many of us, it's been the worst of times in our love relationships and marriages. And so I wanted to take some time today to speak about what is going on and to give you some insight to help deepen your understanding, and also help you understand what we have been taught and told and shown that is contributing to the sabotage of having healthy and juicy love relationships and marriages. So, for those of you who have done relationships work before with me, or have been in one of my courses, or have done Love Academy, I want to say welcome back because this is going to be reinforcement of some things that you may have heard from me before. For those of you who in the Relationships Cafe have not yet been to participate in one of my Facebook Lives, I want to say welcome, welcome. So, hello, Bev. Hello, Delia. Hello, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to see you. Come on in. Grab your tea. This is the Relationships Cafe. Grab your water, which I will have. I'm in the fuchsia today. Can you tell it's the fuchsia theme today? It's the hot pink theme today. Hey, Sean. Hey, y'all. Oh my goodness, it has been months since I have done a Facebook Live. My goodness, I felt rusty. So thank you all for being here. And I hope you have a little beverage with you so that you can stay hydrated, sip some tea or your latte, whatever works for you as we have this conversation today. And I'm calling it the wake up call on purpose because many of us have been in a trance. We have been hypnotized by the Western American culture's teachings about how you create and sustain not just happy, but juicy love relationships. So I also have Sean, who is monitoring comments. So a little later in the broadcast, I also want to take some of your questions. So hello, y'all. Hey, Latanda. Greetings, greetings. Hello, everybody. So I want to give a little background for those who may not be familiar with how I came to be doing this work. I should also mention if there is anyone you want to tag them, tag them, tag them, so they can know about this Facebook Live and so they can get on board and join us today. But actually, I really moved into the lane of love relationships work back in 2009 when I started to offer what I call the Love Academy 101. It was a live event. I actually started with 8 women in my living room, and I invited them over, and I said, I want to share some things with you. And at that time, I had been come out of, not coming through, had come out of a very powerful time of breakdown and struggle and almost divorce in my marriage at that time of 10 years. And literally, the Holy Spirit led me through a personal transformation process where I had to grow up. And I thought I was already grown up. And at the end of that process, which lasted for a few years, I then went public in the form of inviting these friends over to my living room to share with them some of the insights and the downloads that I had been given during this personal transformation journey. And so in 2009 is when I had my first Love Academy, and I asked these ladies at the end of the session, they were here all day, it's a full day intensive, is this something I should take public? Do you think I should share this on a broader scale? And the overwhelming response from those friends who came to that event was absolutely, positively. And so that's how these teachings started to ripple outward. I then went to California, and then to Colorado, and then to Washington, D.C., and then to Maryland, then to Atlanta, then to North Carolina. And it kept expanding from there. I added a mentality, men only love relationship seminar about 1 year after Love Academy 101. And then after 101, women would look at me and say, we want more. What's next? I'm like, what's next? This is a new offering. And they're like, what's the next level after 101? So then I created Love Academy 201, the advanced course. Well, then after doing several Love Academies and people really digging this new paradigm that I was teaching and talking about, not the same old, not the old recycled relationships rhetoric that we hear and see, we read, we see it on talk shows as we listen to experts, a departure from all that. Folks said, Debrena, people need to have a way to receive this information, and it's not based upon them having to be at a live event. And so in 2014 is when the third national book of mine came out called The Love Lies. And I really was meticulously putting into that book the most important aspects of that personal transformation journey, that divine and spiritually led personal transformation journey that I had experienced. So today, in this broadcast, in this wake-up call broadcast, I'm going to be sharing a few of what I discovered, of the things that I discovered that were at play that give us such horrible outcomes, by and large, for so many of us. I don't know if you're aware of this, but out of the 196 countries that are on the face of planet Earth, the United States has the worst success rate for marriage. The worst. Highest failure, 51%. And so something we're doing, something we're learning, something we are believing, let me just log in here, is not working. And this current model that we've been operating from, that we've been taught and told and shown, I call that the Love Lies model. And hence the name of my book, The Love Lies, because I debunk the love lies and I illuminate the love truths. And when you are operating from the love truths, here's the great news. When you're operating from the love truths, you are able to attract, create, and sustain juicy love relationships, and especially covenant marriage love relationships. And by juicy, I mean deeply satisfying and fulfilling for both parties. So with that said, a little background on how I came into this work. It was not because I planned to be a relationships coach. It's because my own journey gave me insight into some powerful truths about how this really, really works. And for those that are on, that have come up in the church, because I know I grew up, attending church, being in the church, it often is a very integral part, especially the African-American experience. Even the teachings that may have been coming from that pulpit or in Bible study or the marriage enrichment group, they too We're often grounded in love lies, and we're not operating from what Scripture said and God's divine design. Because, our Christian marriages have the same 51% worst in the world failure rate, not a percentage point better. Okay, so as you come to this broadcast, I want you to be humble. And I want you to set aside for these next 45 minutes, I want you to set aside what you already know. And I want you to come like a clear whiteboard that all the marks have been erased, a clear chalkboard, all the marks have been erased from all the previous stuff that you have been taught and told. And just come with an open mind and a fresh slate. Because I'm going to challenge some of the things that we've been taught and told. And here's the various ways that the teaching and the telling happens. Now, in Love Academy, I go into more detail about how and where and when specific love lies, and those specific to females especially, because men have their own set of love lies. Yes, their own set. And so I'm not going to go deep into how they are and where and when they're installed, but I want to give you some general ideas. So, of course, there's from what we see, what others around us as we are growing up, particularly those who we live in the same house with, what they are modeling to us, their commentary about women if you are listening to men, about men if you are listening to women. And then the behavior that we observed in real people. Then there's media, which is highly, highly influential to us. And not only like sitcom plots and the interaction between the male and female, or the mom and the dad, or the young people, but also love songs, so-called love songs, which really, if you listen carefully to the lyrics, don't just get caught on that melody and that hook and that bridge. But if you listen to the lyrics, they're not about love. They're about control. They're about sexual attraction, which is a strong force. They're about ownership. They're about jealousy. They're about obsession. They're not about love. What's love got to do with it? What? From the people from my generation that are on here. So it comes at us from all these different directions, y'all. In the Love Academy, I go back to age 3 and I build a timeline from age 3 all the way up to our 30s and 40s to explain how the love lies, the female love lies, are installed. So they're pervasive, they have deep roots, they have barbed ends, and they don't let go easily. So we're not going to go into all of those, but I do just want to share some of the general myths that we often have absorbed that undermine, sabotage, and infect us when it comes to love relationships and marriage. So one thing I want to also mention too before I begin sharing the 5 myths is that this season of COVID has been very fascinating because it served as both a spotlight and a mirror. And I know I have said, and I know I have certainly heard over and over again in my courses and programs and at conferences and in the media, people say, if I had more time, what I'd do with my loved one, what I would do with my family members, what I would do with my child. Here's what I would do. And we get to keep saying that, or we used to keep saying that, because life was moving so fast. Folks going to work, coming back from work, the business of marriage and bills and household and finances and earning the money to cover the costs, and the kids got their places they got to go. Everybody's moving so fast. Everyone's on their cellular device. So we could continue to say, if I only had the time. Well, guess what? This season, for the majority of us, gave us the time. And what we found too often, especially as it relates to love relationships, especially as it relates to covenant marriage, is that we were not used to this much up close time with the people we say we love. During this time, instead of there being more closeness and intimacy and connection for many relationships, especially marriages, it's been a time of friction and breakdown, because we have not had a basis of intimacy and truth and open heart, open-heartedness, and open heart towards each other. So stuff has slowed down, and when you're moving fast, stuff is a blur. But when you slow down, you have to become more present to what was always there. And that's exactly what has happened for many of us in our relationships. We become more present, not necessarily willingly, to what has already been there. And we see that maybe we're not quite as equipped for this so-called intimacy and closeness and connection and communicating from the heart as we professed to be, because we have had an opportunity to activate those aspects of ourselves. And for many of us, those muscles have been atrophied. And this season we're in illuminated that. I remember talking to a gentleman earlier on in the COVID season, and he was in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And I asked how he was doing, how they were faring. And he says, oh, we haven't seen each other in, 40 days or 30 days at that point. He goes, it's tough. I said, so have you had a Zoom date with her? He's like, what? I said, you can still date her from a distance. You better set up a date and a time and get the music going, playlist on your phone. She get cuted up, you get cuted up, iron the shirt, shave, get the hair lined up. The things you normally do if you had a physical date. Why is the ability to date ceasing because you can't get together three-dimensional? You got to get creative. And he was so handicapped by not being able to have a regular date and a regular get-together face-to-face that his creativity just dried up. I'm like, brother, date your woman. So this season has required that we pull out some stuff we haven't had to pull out before, out of ourselves, out of our creativity. And it's a serious muscle building and muscle developing time if you're in relationships. And I'm also including the relationship with self, because many of us have found, because of the quiet that we had and the decrease in all this activity and all this madness and all this ripping and running. And so we have the opportunity to be with self in a new way. And many of us didn't know how to be with self. We were stir crazy because we have not learned how to enjoy our own energy, our own company. We've been afraid of going internal to our thoughts and feelings. So we let the speed of life, the ripping and running pre-COVID, have us avoiding, have us running from, have us ignoring the relationship with self. So, Delia said, Zoom date, yes. And I called him a few days later. He says, oh, can I call you back? My Zoom date's about to start with my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, call me back. Let me know how it went. And of course, she loved it. Loved it. And by the way, once you get married, you should take dating to a whole nother level. It should become an art form, by the way. We tend to stop dating once we get married because we treat marriage as crossing the finish line. Hear me, hear me. You just stepped up to the starting line at a whole nother level. When you say yes to covenant marriage, we tend to treat it like, all done. Let me let down all of my ways of being that had me at my best. I'm married now. No, it should go to the next level. It should elevate. When I talk to men in mentality, I say, you want to keep dating your wife and actually take it to a whole nother level, because she is now, out of all of the women you could have chosen to be your covenant partner, you chose her. She is your jewel. Elevate your dating now that you have your jewel. And because of the love lies men have been taught and shown and sold, their circuits start to blow. Like the notion of date my wife. No, I date to get her to wife. What? How about you begin to date her at a totally higher level now that she is your covenant partner? And that includes if you live in the same house together. A couple of months ago, I said to my husband, hey, would you be open to having a date? He goes, well, honey, you know, we're on homestay. We can't leave. I said, well, we've been hanging out in the den, so let's have a date in the living room. He's like, okay. We set a time. We had our daughters cook. We got our favorite wine. We don't have a real fireplace, so we turned on our fireplace. Ooh, that sounds so crazy. Turn the lights down low, put on the candles. And then there was a couples question game that I had bought off the internet. And so we were asking each other these open-ended questions to have more insight into each other. Because one of the things that kills the wonder and the passion and the delight in covenant marriage is you start to think you know him or you know her. And women are good for saying, well, I know Derek. Well, I know Michael. I do not say that about my husband, Joseph. I say what I know of him. Because when we think we know somebody, which is quite an arrogant statement when you think about how profound and vast a human being can be, I'm still getting to know me, and I've been with me for 52 years. I'm still getting to know me. So how can I claim to know a whole separate human being? That kills the wonder in marriage. Familiarity breeds contempt. So we had that date right here in our house. It was magical. It was exquisite. It was wonderful. And I learned some new things that got added to what I know of Joe and from what I thus far know about him. And he learned some new things about me after 27 years of marriage. Okay, so with that said, that's all precursor, y'all. You ready to get really started now? I also want you to post your questions too, all right? What I know of him. What I know of him thus far. Yes, change your language, because then you will start to take other human beings for granted when we say, I know him. Okay? All right, so first myth we want to talk about in the wake-up call, and this is also in The Love Lies, my third national book, is what I call the granddaddy, I'm going to call it the granddaddy love lie of them all. Because there are many. There are 10 female main love lies. There are 10 male main love lies. And there's even more than those 10. Those are the main ones. But the granddaddy or grandmama love lie of them all is love is found. Love is found. And where is it found? It's definitely found outside of you. It's definitely found in a hymn called The One, The Soulmate, or Mr. Right. And even our language, if we listen to how we speak, which always gives insight to how we're thinking and believing, even our language reinforces that even the most enlightened and progressive of us still hold a belief that love is found when it comes to love relationships. And it's found in a him, because we say things like, oh, I'm not looking for anyone right now. I'm really not trying to find anyone right now. Or I am looking for, or I am trying to find. And we are on the hunt, and we are looking for the one who fulfills on most of the criteria on our list, the what I want in a man list, because we were told this is how you increase your chances of finding the one or the right one. And what that list amounts to, when you look closely at it, is a list of requirements, like he is a commodity. Like you were going to Best Buy with the list and you're looking for the appliance where you mark off most of the items on the list. It's very dehumanizing, but it's what we've been taught and told, and what the women's magazines say to do. Make out your list, be clear. A list can be useful, but what's been on our list has not been useful, and it's been based upon several of the love lies. So myth number one, love is found. Now imagine how much insanity that creates if everything that's come into your eye gates, your ear gates, that you've watched and learned and seen reinforced through movies and reinforced through sitcoms, reinforced through cartoons, even our toys, suggests that love is found, then your behavior will be infected and affected by that constant pummeling in of that love lie. So think about the insanity when the life force, where the high vibration energy and the experience it creates in the body and in the mind and in the spirit, that you have been told exists out there in another person called a man, when really all the time, it was built into your divine design. Imagine the insanity that creates. And that's what it's created. And then, because we're in a culture of materialism as a major ideology, and what we give value to is what you can see, what has 3D dimensionality. Here we are talking about a spiritual quality, a spiritual force called love. And when you combine materialism as an ideology and this spiritual force called love, and you try to find love outside of yourself, when it's all the while been built into you, can you see the insanity? Can you see the expectations you load on another person called a him? Because the right one is supposed to have the love you are looking for and trying to find. And when you find the one, then you will finally have the love. That's the delusion. And it's pervasive. And unless you have consciously and intentionally detoxed yourself of all remnants of that, then you unconsciously and unknowingly have been operating from that myth that love is found outside of myself, in the one, in the person called Mr. Right, in the one called the husband. And let me tell you, the men feel the pressure of that unspoken love lie. And when I am in mentality speaking to the men, I let them know this is one of the lies we're living and operating from, and their jaws fall on the ground. Yes, because that's not one of their love lies. That's a female love lie. And they feel this energy, this expectation. They feel like no matter what they do, they're still falling short. This is what they confess when I have only the men with me. I said, do you feel inadequate? Yes, Debrena, we do. Do you feel like no matter what you do, we're not satisfiable? Yes, Debrena, what the hell is that about? The love lies we're operating from, gentlemen. And one of them says that you've got something that we want. It's called love. We believe you have it. We don't got to find the right one and then we'll have it. Is that crazy or not? I don't care if she runs a company, if she's a six-figure earner, she has a PhD, does not matter. The love lies are not a respecter of generations or profession level or income or religion, because they were started to be installed before you made a conscious salvation choice. By the way, the love lies predate the age at which you said, Jesus Christ, come into my life, my heart, awaken in me. Or whatever your religious path may be. Hello, hello. I see some more people joining us. Hello, beautifuls. Hello, hello. Thank you for recapping in the comments. I love it. I love it. I love it. So that's the first myth. Y'all got it? Love is found. And it's very much related to this next myth, that self-love is optional. Where did I get that from? Where did I conclude one of the false delusional lies that is installed in our psyche and our thinking as women is that self-love is optional? Because when you get a love relationships book or you read an article, and there are over 30,000 books on love relationships and communication. What? And we still have the worst success rates, the highest failure rates in love relationship satisfaction and covenant marriage sustainability in this country. They always talk about the other. Love relationship books always talk about the him, the Mr. Right, the husband, the future husband. And they completely leapfrog over the primary relationship, the primary love relationship we're already in, the one with self. And treat it as insignificant, as unimportant, and as the important relationship is the one with the other out there or over there with the him. Major problem. Why is that? Because the basis for how you engage with, how you perceive another human being, and what you project or don't project onto them is founded and grounded in your concept of self, your experience of self, and your relationship with self. Self-love is not optional. And by the way, self-love is not sufficient enough. We need to elevate to high-level self-love. Self-love is down here. We need to operate from high-level self-love in order to experience juicy love relationships. Why is that? Because if you're level, there's levels of self-love, ladies. It's not I have it or I don't. I love myself or I don't love myself. There are levels of self-love. And you have to be operating from high-level self-love. Otherwise, you will start to pull energetically. Come on now. You will start to pull energetically on a man for what you haven't cultivated or are not experiencing within your own being. Did you all get that? I don't know if you did. Because one of some of the language that arises out of the love lies culture is needs. Communicate your needs. What are your needs? He needs to fulfill your needs. That's part of the love lies world. Because needs end up being shoulds and ought tos and have tos. Code for should, ought to, have to. There's not a lot of freedom. There's not a lot of freedom in our love relationships because it's based in needs and wanting something from another human that it's not their business or assignment to have to give you. You are to be experiencing and discovering self-love and high-level self-love in the love relationship you're already in. Because love is to be shared and love is to be extended. It's not to be found and gotten and taken from another. But that's how we behave, speak, and perceive love relationships and marriage. When I talk to the men in mentality, I say to them, the hardest woman to love is the one who has a low level of self-love. Because she will be constantly looking to you to provide things to her that as a human being you cannot provide. And that's why so many men feel inadequate. That's why so many men feel like no matter what I do, it's never enough. Because what we're yearning for and wanting from them is something they cannot even, and nor are they intended to, nor are they supposed to provide. That's our assignment. So the hardest woman to love, I say to the men in mentality, is a woman who has a low level of self-love. And the easiest woman to love, because she's not holding you responsible for giving her the love she's not experiencing within her own being. The easiest woman to love is the woman who's operating from high level self-love. The woman who's operating from high level self-love has connected to the river of joy built into her own being and put there by the Creator. She's not perceiving you as the source of her joy. She's not perceiving you as the source of her love. She's definitely wanting to experience a joining of her love with the love that's over in you, so it gets amplified, and what the experience of combining that love, that's what she really wants. But most women are looking for something from a man, warped, twisted, and that's not based on love. That's based on fear, contraction, control. Number 3, another one of the myths that we absorb, that we inherit, and no one may actually say it directly to us, but the inputs we receive enforce it. The third myth, it is his job, the man's job, Mr. Right, the boyfriend, the fiance, the husband, it is his job to make me happy. Especially if you're in marriage, that is absorbed through our pores of our skin. We don't even realize how that's in the subterranean undercurrent of our romantic novels and the chick flicks and the romantic comedies. That, you know, who keeps those alive is women's dollars at the box office, playing on their love lies. Every romantic comedy I've seen absolutely reinforces the love lies. Every chick flick I've seen absolutely reinforces and plays on the love lies, the female love lies. It is his job to make me happy. And we say that, I'm looking for someone to make me happy. No, it is not his job to make you happy. That's your job in your primary human relationship. And when you connect to the joy already built into your divine design, by the way, the behavior that results from that connection is what people would observe and call happy. Did you all get that? No, you didn't get it. Joy is the tree and happiness is the fruit it bears. You don't go directly after happiness. You connect to the joy inside of you, and guess what your tree produces? Happiness. Come on, somebody. Myth number 4. Oh, my goodness. And the men always ask me about this, especially the Christian men. In all my mentality courses, I say, well, Debrena, one of the men at church said, happy wife, happy life. What do you think about that? I said, that's going to be a miserable man, because he's going to keep trying to kill himself and do everything she's asking him to do, jumping over brooms and whatever, jumping through hoops to try to make her happy, and yet wonder why she still seems unsatisfied, why he still feels like he's inadequate, like he still feels it's never enough. No, joyful wife, joyful, joy-full, F-U-L-L, joyful, connected to her joy, her spirit's on full, her sacred self-care is in place, she's not depleted and worn out and resentful. She's figured out how to connect to that divine, unending, unlimited source of love and joy within herself. And so now you all can create some even more amazing things together, because she's not looking to you to fill her holes and give her the love that she has not experienced within her own being, or works to elevate within her own being. Woo! Thank you for that synopsis, Nikki. That was great. Hey, Sharon Locklear, darling, how are you? Ooh, I'm so glad to see you here with us. Joyful wife, happy life for a man. Otherwise, you'll kill yourself, gentlemen, trying to make her happy, which is what they do. And they're like, Debrena, that is not working. I'm like, exactly. And the fifth myth, communication is the key. Y'all, how many times have you heard that? If I hear that again, I think I'll vomit. We are the most verbose, talkative, non-listening well culture on the face of the planet. So if communication is the key, how come we don't have the best outcomes versus the worst outcomes when it comes to love relationships, and especially covenant marriage? No, communication is not the key. Why is that? Because men and women have different styles and ways that they communicate, and different meaning that they associate with communication. So communication is not the key. Men speak what I call manese, and women speak what I call womanese. So if you're communicating, if I'm communicating in English and you're communicating in Mandarin, and I can hear every word you're saying, and you can hear every word I'm saying, comprehension is still not occurring, because communication is taking place. Send, receive. No, that is not sufficient. We have to learn how to shift our style of communication if we want a man to comprehend and thus take the desired action without us repeating. Why do we have to repeat so much? Why do women kind of joke and jab each other? Oh, I had to tell them 1,000 times. I know what you mean. Me too, girl. Why is that so prevalent? Because we're repeating and repeating and repeating in womanese instead of speaking to him in manese. There are specific characteristics of manese, and you have to learn them. You have to work the muscle. So we speak womanese to our girlfriends, to other women. They get it. We connect. And we bring that same style and way of communicating into our love relationship space, and wonder why it doesn't seem to be connecting the same way. Because we're speaking womanese to him, not manese. Men, communication to men needs to be very literal, direct, specific, and have an action in it. Now that seems pretty uncomplicated, but guess what? Here's the tendencies with womanese. It tends to be indirect. We infer, we imply, we drop hints, we narrate and commentate about stuff a lot. And on top of it, we haven't been taught how to make requests. Men work well with requests, not telling. We do a lot of telling and think it's a request. Or we use questions as a weapon. Why don't you? Can't you see that? Those are not requests. They're using questions as a weapon. A request, a true request, the other is able to answer yes or no. They have the freedom to answer yes or no. Or there's the freedom to negotiate. But you start with will you or would you? Communicating with women, we do not use requests. We ask just questions, but we don't use requests. So that's a whole new muscle. And in Love Academy, when I was able to still do the live versions, I would practice with women live real time. I would give them the script to practice making requests. And right there real time, after the whole room just heard me give them the script and we're doing a role play, I say, okay, now make the request. And 3 seconds later, they revert back to their womanese patterning of communication, even though I just gave them the language to just repeat back to me. It's amazing. And it happens in every single Love Academy. And I've done over 45 of them. And now have hundreds of graduates. And every single time I do that role play, I always choose a married woman, because we're the ones that can get real entrained and real entrenched in certain ways of thinking and certain ways of communication. And we always think it's him and he's the problem. If he just elevate, and we're blind to how we participate and co-create every dynamic in our marriage. We co-create. I didn't say we're responsible for it. We co-create it. We participate in it. The art of making a request. Yes, it can become art. Yes, let's consider it an art. So we've been taught and told that communication is the key. And then we say to men, we need to talk. And then when we sit down to talk, we take up all the airtime. First of all, we don't do much listening because we have some upset that's occurred and we process a lot through our mouths, speaking it out, talking it out. So what we need to have a talk, we need to have a conversation. It's really a monologue where we're getting out our frustration and our upsetness. It's not a conversation. And then we're speaking in womanese. And then we wonder why it takes so much energy and effort to get him to do certain things. Now, not only might it be your actual language, but it also could be the energy associated with the communication. Most, especially married women, we misuse our tongue. We use it as a weapon to cut. We use our voice inflection against us. Women have the unique ability to rise and fall within one word. I can say, hello, how are you? Don't take that for granted. That inflection inside a word, it's the feminine voice, the female voice box that can do that. Men are usually loud or soft, but that voice inflection, that rising and falling, and that modulation control we have, we use it against ourselves instead of using it to communicate with sweetness and to put some love on it. So can we see how our love relationships can start to degenerate? And we don't know why. We can't pinpoint it. It's a combination of a culmination of the love lies showing up in our behavior, showing up in our patterns of communication, showing up in our unspoken expectations. That, by the way, when I share some of the expectations we have of men with them in mentality, their minds are blown. They're like, what? Like, inside the mind of most women with regard to love relationships is a scary place. So ladies, those are just, or we might have some gentlemen on here too, but those are 5 myths. And those are just 5. Remember, there's 10 female love lies, foundational love lies, 10 foundational male love lies. And there's still another 15 more female love lies and 15 more male love lies beyond the foundational 10. I shared with you just 5 myths. I didn't even cover all of the actual female love lies. I just touched upon a few of the myths that we absorb and inherit that contribute to the undermining and the sabotaging of and the killing of juice in the domain of love relationships. We haven't even spoken about the feminine energy, masculine energy, overly masculinized energy that so many of us are running as women. We're not even talking about being in our girl versus being in our woman. So many of us are still emotionally unhealed and immature, still in our girl. Come into covenant marriage, come into love relationships. And we wonder why they're not working. Yes, men contribute their piece, but this conversation, I'm mainly directing it to women because we are so influential in the relationship space. We set the tone and the pace. We set the keynote. I'm a keynote speaker. Keynote speakers are usually at the beginning or the main plenary session where everyone's there, or at the very end, because, and especially a powerful keynote at the beginning, sets the note, sets the tone, establishes a vibration. Why is it called a note? Keynote. The woman sets the keynote in her home, the keynote in love relationships, and especially in covenant marriage. So are you playing an F flat that's disharmonious? Are you playing a harmonious, are you setting a harmonious vibration? Is there harmony within you? Is your sacred self-care on point? Are you operating from a sacred self-caring consciousness? Now, some of this is new language for some of you because this is part of my world. This is part of my teaching. So in these final few minutes, while you were getting your questions together, Sean has written in the comments, what are your questions? What are your questions? I want to let you know that for the first time ever, because I've been doing live 3D in-person Love Academy intensives, full day all over the country. But because right now we don't have that same level of mobility and ability to gather in large groups, I'm doing my first ever virtual Love Academy via Zoom. What? Yes. And I'm so excited because no one has to fly in. So many of the women that would attend a Love Academy would actually fly in from other cities. So guess what? You just got to fly into the Zoom link. So on October 3rd and October 10th, we're going to go deeper into some of these things I've talked about, much deeper, because it's an intensive. I had to break it up into 2 days because when we're together live, it's a full day from 9 to 4. So now on October 3rd and October 10th, we are doing 3 hours on October 3rd and 3 hours on October 10th. Those are Saturdays. 9 to 12 if you're on the West Coast, Pacific Zone. 12 to 3 if you're on the East Coast. So Sean said, Love Academy is life-changing. So Sean's going to put the link to the Love Academy in the comments, and you also can go to milliondollarmentor.net, milliondollarmentor.net. Grand Central for Debrena Online, and right there in the featured events, right on the home page, you will see Love Academy 101 via Zoom. I invite you to join us. I don't know when I'll be doing another live. I don't know when I'll be doing another one via Zoom. So don't use the, oh, I'll catch your next one. I don't know if and when the next virtual one may happen. I prefer live. So get on board, get registered. Where normally it's $199 early bird, guess what? Because we're doing it virtually, it's $99 for 6 hours of profound teaching. We are going to look at and look under and begin to detox from the female love lies. You are going to be crystal clear about why and how things have been unfolding, however they have been for you in terms of your interactions and engagement with men, in terms of your interactions and engagement with your husband. There's a lot of smoke. We're going to blow back. I'm here in Seattle. We have a lot of smoke. All these fires. We're going to blow back a lot of that relationship smoke that has us not clearly seeing. We're going to do exercises. We're going to do some self-assessment so you can locate yourself, where you are on the girl-woman continuum. We're going to do some practice around speaking manese and manese so that you can have the receiver, whatever man that may be, including if you have sons, speak manese to them. You will get a response, the desired response with more ease. Okay? So, Love Academy Virtual, October 3rd and 10th. I hope you can be there. It's a new paradigm I teach, y'all, not just more of the same old recycled stuff. Enough of that. That ain't working anyway. Our divorce rates have not decreased with all this relationship information. Our love relationship satisfaction and fulfillment levels have not increased because the paradigm we're operating in, the love life paradigm, is faulty and flawed by design. So I'm not going to feed you more poison. That just keeps giving us horrific outcomes. I'm introducing you to a new paradigm that produces juicy, yum, yum, juicy love relationships and marriages. So, questions. We have a couple minutes, literally. Questions. So where do you get the love lies? Where do you get the book? So again, all things Debrena Grand Central, $1,000,000mentor.net. And I have a fabulous empowerment store. And you can get all my books there, and they'll connect you to the Amazon portal, but go through my Amazon portal in the store. I've got fabulous ebooks and free gifts and courses. Oh, just so many wonderful, yummy things. But $1,000,000mentor.net is where you can get a copy of The Love Lies, or even better yet, let's support our bookstores. Walk into Barnes & Noble, walk into your independent bookstore and get the book or order it if it's all sold out from their shelves. But it's nationally available, okay? So ladies, is there a Love Academy for men? It's actually called Mentality. Mentality is the male relationships seminar that I do. Mentality. And I don't have another one scheduled at the moment. I may decide to try a virtual one with them via Zoom. But Mentality is the equivalent of the Love Academy 101 for the women. And ours is a little bit longer. Theirs is half a day and ours is a full day. Great question. Thank you. Well, all of you who joined us for this broadcast, thank you. I hope to see you at the Love Academy 101 virtual via Zoom, first time ever. It is time for us to come out of the old paradigm. This season of COVID has made it crystal clear and painfully clear for so many of us. And I'm going to share with you what is the new paradigm. What is the new or different that's available? So Love Academy 101 is for women only, single and married. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you received some things from this broadcast that you didn't already know, or will make you go, and give it some different thought, or give you a new frame of understanding, so you can begin to see some of the things that are contributing to the outcomes and results that so many of us have had that are frustrating and disappointing and dissatisfying and unsatisfying. But there's another way, there's another realm, there's another dimension, there's another paradigm. Juicy love relationships is possible. And I'm here to be your spiritual midwife and spiritual guide to the truths that will give you juicy. So thank you for joining me. Our hour is up. Thank you, Sean Thomas, for monitoring and posting the questions, and thank all of you for joining me. Until next time, mwah, love you.